Hey folks, thanks for stopping by. I am in the process of creating this little food forest, just a way for us and wildlife to enjoy the fruits of nature. So I'm getting ready to add fruit trees to my little semi-native orchard. I have an Amelanchier serviceberry here, and I'm going to be adding another one for pollination. So I have a bucket of compost and a jar of Espoma's tree tone this time around. In addition, I also have another plum to plant here next to my American plum here on the left. It's a weird spring. Peaches, pears, plums did not bloom this year, and the cherries are sporadic, so kind of crazy. And then over here, I'm going to be planting, just on the other side of the path there, I'm going to be planting several more native varieties. So I like to remove the layer of grass first sometimes, so I set it aside first. Try to kind of chop it up as I go. That way it's easier to backfill. And then to make less of a mess, just like to pull this out first, gently. I'll set that aside, and then I'll put my spare dirt in here. And I like to plant it just a little proud, just a little higher than the soil surface, because usually it will settle just a bit, especially because I'm going to mix up some compost. So I'm just going to do a little bit of fertilizer first. You want the trees to take to your native soils, because that's what they're going to be growing in for years. You don't want to have to constantly amend your soil. And so I don't use too much fertilizer. This is natural, it's organic fertilizer, so it's not very strong. But I do like to use a little bit of compost on the tree down in there. Just going to do just a little bit of compost around the edges. Use the soil I removed. And make sure not to have any air pockets, so you pack it down in there really well. Everything's pretty dry at this point. Just make sure. I'm going to go ahead and water it in before I put the last layer on. The first watering, I like to soak it really deep, especially if the surrounding soil is dry like it is today. We haven't had rain for a little while. There. So if you leave that little well around the root ball, that will help the water get right to the roots and saturate that particular zone. And then I'll finish up with another layer of compost to act as mulch. And then we'll go ahead and prune. And now it has a little bit more of a uniform shape. As it grows, it will balance out. I will probably have to build cages around these too, just like I did this little peach. We had heavy deer growls with the last tree that was planted there, and that's why this is there now. Wanted to do a walkthrough of the orchard area. This is an amelanchier. I planted it last year. It actually, I think, got pollinated, might put out just a little bit of fruit. Not all of them, of course. This is the new one that I planted. Remember, I cut this stem off. This is the one that had the flowers that pollinated the other one, but it was just too tall and lanky. So I trimmed that up so that it would have a nice overall shape. It has taken to the transplant rather well. And so this is the Native American plum that I planted last year. It has done really well, though it didn't bloom this year, just a weird, like I said, a weird spring. And this is the new one that I got. Same variety, just different genetics to act as a pollinizer. And here's the new orchard area. It's mirrored just on the other half. There's the one we just walked from. There's bees just to orient yourself. And here are the other trees that I planted. These are other amelanchiers. I think one is Saskatoon and the other, I've forgotten the name at the moment. I actually planted them together to look like a multi-stem tree. That way they could pollinate each other. This is the persimmon that I planted year before last. It is really late to come out of winter dormancy. It didn't do very well. Deer browse is bad with this one. Seems to be doing okay. A little chokecherry. It suffered a weird loss of leaves. Like I said, many of the trees I've had this spring didn't bloom. My cherry bloomed about a month and a half late and very sporadically. And some just didn't bloom at all. But this one seems to be alive. The branches are still flexible. It's still green when I scratch the surface. So we'll see if it makes it. And this is a black cherry. I've got a few black cherries here and there on the property. You can see it's just wilting ever so slightly. So I need to get the watering can out and take care of that. So I'm trying to create this small orchard. It's mostly native fruit trees like American plum, amelanchier. So I've got some persimmon, black cherry. And so if I can have enough fruit for us to make some jam or jelly and plenty for wildlife, or maybe even save some for the chickens, that's kind of the goal that I'm going for here. And then I also have several shrubs that I'm getting ready to plant too. I've got currant, American cranberry, and just a couple others over here that I'll be planting. So the key here is to give them a little bit of water first, let that soak down in, and then go back around and hit them with water again. I find that they absorb the most water in that manner. Time to water the fruit trees. So about a week after planting, I think everything has adjusted well. The raccoon dug this one up and it recovered. It's kind of rough going there. Thank you so much for watching this video. And if you liked it or found it entertaining or helpful, please consider giving it a thumbs up. Better yet, subscribe to this channel and share it with your friends. Be sure to click the notifications icon so that you'll get notified when I make updates. And thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next video.